Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the CDO Magazine interview series. My name is David Zhao, and I'm the managing director of Coda Strategy. And today we'll have the final part of our interview with Mike Jennings. Mike is the senior director of data governance and architecture at Walgreens Boots Alliance. Mike, glad to have you with us.
Glad to be here, David.
I want to get technical and in the weeds. Our previous conversations have been about high level topics. And my first question is Walgreens is an established brand, and it's also an established company that is over 120 years old. So there's been a lot of IT infrastructure that's come before us, and there will be a lot of IT infrastructure that follows us. How do you manage your data architecture and develop a data strategy then to balance the need, on the one hand, to maintain legacy platforms that control core business operations, with, on the other hand, the need to invest in newer technology, things like IoT, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Gen AI?
Well, some of the ways that we do that is look at what the business strategies that are emerging are, and what's some of the key initiatives are, to see what's important, what's changing, what direction we're going, so that we can evaluate the data architectures that we have in place. We also look at some of the operational challenges that we have. You're right, we have legacy systems, we have a mixture of things. Looking at some of the operational challenges of things, what things are reaching end of life or getting near end of life, which things are having bad performance or business or issues, technical issues on a routine basis, and evaluating from that perspective. Looking on the other side from the business, how is the business responding and using the various applications and data, and what issues are they bringing up, and where could there be a potential problem or a miscapability? The application itself, especially when we purchase something like that, may not have all the capabilities and functions that the business is striving for with their new business strategies, and looking at things like that. And then we're always looking ahead at new technologies and architectures for evaluation to see what might be needed down the line. So as these business needs and changes happen, that we can adapt and bring in new technologies at the right place and time.
Got it. Got it. And you had mentioned in a previous segment about how you partner with the business to do data governance. It sounds like to manage IT infrastructure, you do the same thing. You have to partner with the business and say, what business outcomes are you looking to achieve with IT? And then together, let's figure out the most cost effective and most business impactful way to manage our IT infrastructure.
Just like technology is changing all the time, business strategies, business initiatives, customer and patient needs have changed. We've had to make changes and adaptations for, say, privacy laws, and bring capabilities for our customers and patients, or our customers in that case, that provide services to them that weren't, 5, 10 years ago, before the California state privacy law came in, we didn't have to provide. So it's not only from the technology side, but the business and even regulatory or patient and customer needs, where we have to adapt and bring in new technologies or new capabilities.
Okay. Now, many people in our audience will say, well, it's easier said than done.
Mm.
And I want to ask about challenges and how you face and overcome challenges. So, can you provide an example of the data challenges you face, specifically around, let's say, around on-prem versus mainframe, on-prem and mainframe versus cloud and SaaS? What are some of the data challenges that can come up, and how do you address those?
There's a couple areas there where you know, making decisions on what makes the most sense from the business capabilities, from the customer patient, what should be on prem versus on cloud, and depending on the type of services you have, what kind of needs you have on it, which one makes more sense from an availability, from a scalability, especially if it's variable scalability. Some things might end up better on cloud than they do on prem. On the other hand, there could be services or functions that are provided with a SaaS provider. Then there you have to look at whether or not what data, what use cases you're going to use there, and what makes sense as far as which data we can put over there, since it technically goes outside our four walls. Then, so you're looking at it from a use case perspective, from a data sensitivity perspective, and balancing those things between risk and providing business services to our customer and patients that best meet their needs.
Now, some people in our audience might say, well, I want to put everything on the cloud because that's where data is headed. What's an example in your experience of something where you said, I wanted to put this on the cloud, but it's in a mainframe or it's on a legacy database. Let's just leave it there. What would be an example that you would offer as a counterexample?
Well, I don't think everything one way should go on-prem or on cloud. I think there's a balance between those. Uh, and so you have to look at if I have an application or something that's on-prem that's providing, very good business services. It's very, it's operational. Has no issues. Why move it per se? Just move it. What's the value to the business or the customer patient by doing that? So I've been looking at it from, if I'm going to move it from on-prem to cloud, what's the change? What's the upsell as such for it? Why am I moving it there? And what value am I getting out of that?
Yeah. And I love that response because essentially you're saying if there's no business value, it's just an IT science project. And we don't want to be doing IT science projects. We want to be driving business value.
Everything we should be doing should either provide a new business capability or cost savings, provide better customer patient experience, or we're doing it for regulatory. So you got to look at across those things and see what checkbox you have there and what makes sense to where you put it.
Absolutely. Now, I want to turn our focus towards execution. And you mentioned in a previous segment, you've got experience on both the consulting side and on the pharmacy side. So I'll ask you this. From based on your experience, what advice do you have on how to use consulting firms to develop your company's data strategy and also to implement data programs?
So again, you got to do your homework on the consulting company. I think reach out, do reference checks, things of that nature. Do evaluations online around them. See if they're at conferences and webinars, what they're doing there, what they're saying, and it aligns with your ideas and strategies and what you want to do in your business and where your direction goes. So you can pick the best consulting with that. I think the references in particular or experience with that consulting company from other areas is a great way of evaluating them.
And then following up on that, there's certainly name brands that we all know and recognize. But after you've done your homework and your due diligence, what's your advice on when it's better to bring in an independent expert or an independent consultancy versus a large traditional consulting firm like a big four, for example, or a marquee tier one strategy firm?
And I use the consultant answer. It depends as such. What is the specific use case you have? What is the expertise you require for that use case? Do you have that expertise internally? Is this a new service or thing where we don't have that? Or do you simply need to augment your own capability? You need, more people involved in a project or an activity than what you have currently, and make a decision from that. The independents may have a particular niche that the big consulting firms don't have, and vice versa. If you need more help on a larger project that's like a bigger implementation, you may need the bigger firms involved from there.
Yeah, and we're also seeing a market where it's multimodal, right? Like clients are bringing in the niche specialists for a particular need, but the arms and legs and the PMO is done by the large, well-known brands, and that seems to work out. in many
It does
cases.
in most, yeah, I would say in most cases, yes. Some cases, you simply need to be the outside, company from a strategy perspective to provide perspectives and wider insights so you can make up your own mind on which direction you wanna go based on the strategy they produce.
Yeah, that's very true. And there's separation of strategy and implementation can
Exactly.
have a lot of benefits. Otherwise, the strategy firm is just thinking about how to get the implementation contract, not what's best for your company's strategy.
Getting that outside perspective on certain strategies that you may not have as much expertise or experience with is always valuable.
Of course. Well, that's all the time we have today. I want to thank you, Mike, again for joining me today. And I want to remind our audience, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Again, my name is David Zhao, and I'm the managing director of Coda Strategy. And today we've had the pleasure to hear from Mike Jennings, senior director of data governance and architecture at Walgreens Boots Alliance. Thanks, Mike. Thanks.
Thank you.